Thanks, Gail.
All right, good evening. Welcome to the Curriculum Committee meeting. It is April 7th, 2025. I'd like to welcome everyone and turn it over to Dr. Krupanis.
Thank you very much. Good evening, everyone. And yes, welcome to April's Curriculum Committee of the Board meeting. We do have a few things on our agenda this evening. One of which, as we promised when we originally brought the board up to speed on our AI efforts, we are revisiting where we are and where we have been so far. Then we will give you our annual curriculum cycle update so you're aware of different content areas and what stages we are in within the curriculum cycle. And then finally, we will give you a little information about our professional learning looking forward based on our Future Ready Comprehensive Plan. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Bacani, Dr. Kaplan, and Mr. Price, I believe.
Thank you for having us as a team to present an update with AI, artificial intelligence. Today we're going to go over with you as a team. We have our AI roadmap is where we started in the beginning of the year and where we are now in our buildings, K-12. We have some February professional development highlights to share with you and actual quotes from our staff. Review technology resources that we're excited about, and Sean's going to be going over a tool that we're looking to pilot. PD feedback, next steps, and then next steps that we have K-12 this spring with our staff into the fall of 2025. This is a quote that we shared with our staff on February 14th, K-12. Technology not replace great teachers, but technology in the hands of great teachers can be transformational. We feel as if the last time we're here compared to now, our teachers have gained exponentially in terms of their knowledge base, as well as their proficiency using AI in the classroom. This is just a graphic of where we started, where we are now. I want to thank Becky Duffy, our think tank teachers at each of our buildings, as well as all the staff members that really dove into this February 13th. But the AI Steering Committee met and formed together as a district in October of 2024. As a group, developed our mission and vision of what AI is going to be from October till November 2024. And as we all know in the room, presented to the board for adoption and approval in November. And then we ended up planning for our professional development in December for February. All within a span of a few months is ensuring that we were ready for the February 13th Professional Development Day. So this is a sample, what we call power slide. A lot of our high school students will look at it and know that this is a success criteria that they expect out of our students before a class begins. So this is what we share with our staff, K-12, across the district. So every teacher in the district received this information. So the teachers, number one, will be able to articulate the what, why, and how of AI in the Colonial School District, explore, discuss, and process the AI vision and mission statements and its AI policy, and reflect on their own understanding of AI, because we understand teachers are in different ends of the spectrum. Novices to they've dabbled into it and they're really ready to dive in with their students, where to get the resources and prepare them for the next steps as a district. So we started off with, as a whole group, as a building, each of our buildings started off with the mission and vision information. We went over AI introductions in terms of our expectations and policy. We had an opportunity for our teachers to discuss what stood out to them in terms of AI, sharing AI resources and tools for our staff, and then we talked about next steps. At our buildings, we had an opportunity for all of our departments then to work collaboratively with different tools per department, really a make and take time for our teaching staff. So this is a continuum that was developed by the steering committee led by Becky Duffy. The goal is to get up into reach into this sixth realm, which is teachers and students using AI. Right now, as you see from the stars, is our goal this year is for our teachers to use AI to differentiate personalized learning and provide feedback, and to provide in the support of development of lesson planning and teaching and learning of activities and rubrics. turn over to Dr. Gregettis and Ed Merck regarding AI resources for the district.
So as Dr. Bacani just shared with you, a lot of this information and knowledge was created from our steering committee, and we had a great committee. The teachers really led this committee from the ground up. Becky Duffy, Brooke Carpenter, Josh Rothstein, they were all enormous influences on this work. And it was important for us to have it come from their level. They are the ones with our kids day in and day out. They know what we need, what we need to be prepared for, what we should be cautious about. The first resource that we're gonna look at is our district website. Thanks to Jess Lester and Kim Newell, who put this together. This is not currently live. We wanted to get your input on this first, but it really went through and it shares everything that we had discussed. Nancy, can you click on that?
Sure.
So on the website, you will see here, it talks about our vision, our mission. If you scroll down a little bit, please, there you go. It discusses, and this is for our entire community, not just our staff. So we put this together as a large group of our think tank. So not necessarily just our steering committee, we then extended that to all levels, elementary, middle, and high school. So it really goes through and our community can see what is artificial intelligence, what are our beliefs about artificial intelligence, and then again, what do we expect from our learning and student use? And then what are the important factors that we considered? Number one, what guided us is our school board policy. So all of that information is going to be very transparent for our community. Again, we wanted to get you guys to weigh in on that first and take a look at it so you all have access to it. And then the next resource we have is more along the lines of our staff resource. So Nancy, if you could go back to, great. And then the next thing is specifically for our staff and all the professional learning that Dr. Bacani just explained to you. Mr. Merck?
So everything that we have related to professional learning is housed within a Canvas course that we created, and we post our schedules there, any presentations, room assignments, who's presenting, things of that nature are all located within that Canvas course. So are you able to click on the course, Nancy? No, so the course is not live.
No.
So when you go to that Canvas course, if we're around the PD day, you'll see, okay, what's happening for that professional learning day. And they'll have schedules broken down by grade band. But after we are finished with the professional learning day, we want to try to keep those resources available for the teachers all school year. And so that they can go back and revisit any of the resources that they like from the professional learning. So what we'll have are three main menus. Canvas, and these are related to big initiatives that you have. So if you recall, the Canvas was a big initiative a couple years ago. So we have all the resources for that included there. Now we'll have AI, and then all the professional learning that we had that supported our almost finished comprehensive plan will be housed in one area as well. So as we continue to have major initiatives like this, everything related to those initiatives will be housed in one spot in our professional learning course.
Thank you.
Yep.
And then the next slide we have, and this was a big one within the professional development sessions, as you can imagine, many of the teachers like, well, how can I use what I like to use or what I'm familiar with? So this was a flow chart that was created with technology to describe what steps we would need to go through if a teacher is looking to work with or pilot or test out an AI site. So we had to make sure that it aligns with everything we shared with you guys in February, technology-wise, and it abides by our policy that we had passed. So this was just another resource that our teachers utilize. And so after we had that great professional development, we continue to collect feedback, anonymous feedback from our teachers so that we can try to do a better job with improving our professional learning offerings. So our team is going to share some of that feedback with you.
All right, so to begin, folks, we generally had remarkably positive feedback across the board. A lot of these sessions were delivered, again, directly by teachers who are members of that AI steering committee, as well as some of the members here. So here's just a couple of examples of some of the feedback that we received. I now understand the policy that CSD put in place for AI usage in the district. Good feedback to have, also a really important first step. I learned many tools that can continue to build up teaching strategies and lessons to engage students in more materials. And I learned how to generate efficient prompts to get the generative AI to give me the appropriate questions or rubrics that I was looking for. One of the big prevailing themes was making that cognitive lift a lot easier for teachers for things that they don't necessarily have to spend a lot of time on. So it takes that work out of their hands so they can spend more time engaging with students and encouraging discourse and sound assessment. Additional feedback trends that we had from there, teachers asked for a number of things. This helps guide not just the steering committee, but also where the district is going to go in terms of approvals. So we definitely need more time and space to explore AI tools. Folks did have sandbox, so to speak, opportunities where they got to play with a couple of different tools in their respective content areas. More access to tools, specifically paid versions, which is currently what we're undergoing right now in terms of review. Student access to tools and thinking through what that may look like, which ones are going to be the safest, which ones have the terms of service that match what we have as a district policy. Specific examples of student use in the classroom, seeing more models of what that looks like in action. And then last is that suggestions on managing misuse of AI and where that conversation starts in a K-12 school or a school system rather. So those were the asks that we had from those feedback sessions.
Can I ask a question? As we go through with students using it, are we gonna need to update our use of technology policies to include anything AI related?
So we did that in November. When we adopted the AI policy, we also updated our acceptable use policy. So those were both recommendations from PSBA.
So I have another question. You mentioned one of the pieces of feedback was on the paid version. Was there something more specific on what's in the paid version that teachers are looking for? That's not in the free?
Accessibility.
Well, obviously with with a paid version, you are getting additional features. But one of our goals was to make sure that we were doing our due diligence, being fiscally responsible. What we didn't want to get into the situation is each different department in each different school says, well, I like this one and I like this one, and then all of a sudden we're asked to buy 15. So you're kind of putting the cart before the horse here, but they are, no, you're fine, it's a great question. They are gonna talk about a pilot we did land on, that we are gonna pay for, and we're asking, at least at the middle school and the high school, to utilize this, to take a peek at this paid version. Although Dr. Kaplan wheeled and dealed, but we're gonna all use that with the hopes that each department realizes, oh, I can also do something with this as well, so we don't have 15 other offerings. Did that answer your question?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Sure. Were you finished, Joe?
I was going to bounce it to Maria, but I can keep going.
No, go right ahead.
So as you can see, some additional feedback from those AI sessions. While planning on trying out the resources, decide the best ways to apply, continued practice and thinking about how to implement them, and then just practice over and over and seeing how those tools can be used. So a couple of the tools that one of the primary tools that you'll take a look at this evening that they're going to kind of walk you through from both the middle school and the high school does offer a litany of options. So it's really just a matter of how to navigate those successfully across different content areas. If you'd like to.
Okay, fine. I mean, it's just additional feedback that was provided from some of the PD. The teachers truly did appreciate the opportunity to work with their building leaders on this specific task. But great use of time, very honest dialogue with excellent presenters, and most importantly, I felt actionable things that I could use, so thank you. I really enjoy being able to play around with the tools and see the capabilities, and so of course these particular experiences that teachers have will launch how we start off next year as we continue to explore AI. So I believe now, Mr. Caruso, you're going to be
Mr. Caruso, yeah.
Yep, taking over and addressing the next steps.
Hi, everyone. I'm here representing the elementary level. Obviously, a lot of the work being conducted is at the secondary level. That's where the students are going to be using it more handily than the elementary level. At our level, it is definitely a different approach. We are teaching the teachers at this point to utilize it to improve their instruction. So we have a little bit of differentiated next steps. So across the district, though, we are further exploring and investigating AI tools that were shared at our professional learning time. We also are implementing AI tools into planning, and that is district-wide. At the elementary level, we are including the teacher tools. So we are exploring in those realms. There was also thinking through next steps on how to use AI with students. I know that is a tricky at elementary level because we have to consider appropriate usage, age appropriateness, and things like that. So at this point, we are not ready to dive in with students, and we're obviously going to continue seeking more information so we can make the right decisions as the secondary do begin their exploration. We're going to continue to collaborate on AI strategies that can be used at all levels and how we can best implement them for best practices across the district. So then if we break it down to secondary and elementary levels, we are going to be looking at creating tools to explain AI expectations to students. Since they are diving in, they're going to have that opportunity to use that correct usage, safe usage, where they are going to be exploring a little more. And they're going to go into greater detail about that, along with the pilot with the Magic School beginning in May of 2025, so very shortly. The Magic School is something that is available free for the elementary level that we are exploring. There are some great teacher tools in there. And then I'm going to talk a little bit more about the elementary level, which is the teachers using the AI tools to support lesson planning and student success. With our February PD, we had a chance to explore, dive in. The teachers found different ways to utilize it. We had experts come and present what they have at our teacher level that are already exploring, have dived into this already. We did some brainstorming, had some breakout sessions to really explore their comfort level, and we're meeting teachers at their own comfort level. Some are diving right in, ready to use it. Others are taking their time to make sure that they fully understand, and we're supporting at all levels to get to a comprehensive idea that we are going to be using it to better our students, to help our lesson planning and student success. Some of the things that they're focused on is how to use our AI tools to figure out roles and context and stated tasks to lead to more effective AI tool results. So it's also just that first usage, how to get the best results out of it, how to explore, and how to be direct with what we're trying to do. So some things that we were looking at is Brisk and Magic tools. There's some our few free tools that provide great basis that follow under that meet our criteria that we are looking at for any tools that we're applying. So at the elementary level, we are focusing more on critical thinking, responsible online behavior. So they are learning how to be digital citizenship and navigating AI tools as they get into their secondary level where they're going to be exploring them. So we are going to be the foundation, teaching them how to use them safely, teach them how to use them responsibly without diving in and having them use it already. It's going to be a little more building that scaffolding for the students as they get to the secondary level. And then for the teachers level, they're going to be looking at creating exemplars for students to help with their exploration. They're also going to be thinking about differentiation, giving new ideas to how to approach a lesson, and adjusting lexile levels, reading levels for students so that it is more appropriate. So they're going to be exploring how they can better improve their instruction and then scaffold to support the secondary's goals of really utilizing those tools to the extent that they can be. So that, I'm going to turn it over back to the secondary because they're going to explore into a little more of the nitty-gritty details.
Good evening, everyone. We're very excited to talk about some of the next steps related to the pilot that's going to take place shortly after spring break here, specifically with Magic School. I'll speak a little bit to what that's going to look like as far as the details of a timeline go. And then the next slide will dig into why Magic School among all of the projects that are out there. And then shortly after, Mrs. Carpenter, who moved over here now, will help me outline a little bit of what it's really going to look like with students and teachers in the classroom. So the zoomed out summary is going to be that 2 teachers here at the middle school and 2 to 4 at the high school are going to start using Magic School directly with students in a closely supervised pilot. Think tank teachers, administrators, people like Mrs. Carpenter that are involved are planning the lessons together specifically as they relate to some of the ethical use details that Mr. Caruso spoke about, and also about how it aligns with their curriculum and their instruction and their assessment and what's going on in their classrooms anyway. There's been a lot of conversation about it already, and we don't want English to turn into AI 101 for weeks and weeks and weeks, but how can we mold the two together to enhance what we're doing regularly while also teaching students skills about how to use software that many of them are using already more appropriately. We're going to notify parents beforehand that this pilot is underway and offer alternatives if they're not interested in their students working with AI quite yet. Another important part is the pre and post pilot survey that we're going to give to students about how they feel about their AI literacy, how comfortable they feel about it, what do they understand or not understand, how do they see themselves using it, because one of the biggest goals of this is to get a better understanding of it ourselves. And as we start looking at professional learning for next year and a broader rollout with more teachers involved, we need to get a strong understanding about what pitfalls might there be and how are students reacting to it and what more might they need that we don't know about already. So we feel strongly that data will be really helpful, and that's why we want to start this now as opposed to next fall where we lose some time getting ready for the professional learning workshops that we want to implement. And then again, the ethical and appropriate use details remain something that's really important to us. We know that students are using it already. We have those conversations with students and families about what's appropriate and what's not, but we know when we intentionally put it into students' hands, that's a Band-Aid that comes off that's kind of hard to put back on. So we want to make sure we're pulling it off the right way.
While we're on the slide, can I ask a quick question? I really appreciate the pre-post survey. That's great. How were the teachers selected and what specific content area?
At the middle school, ELA and history. They're both members of our think tank at the middle school level. So people that expressed an interest in being a part of that committee. People that are eager to try something new and represent their colleagues too with what their interests might be, what their struggles might be, so on and so forth.
So keeping it at the high school level? Just with the history that it's full inclusion also.
Thanks for mentioning that. Our history at the middle school teaches every student regardless of level. They're all together. So we thought that'd be important feedback too to make sure that we capture special ed, EL, a variety of different learners versus other classrooms where it might be not quite as reflective.
High school is
Same model as the middle school, where we utilize 4 of our key teachers from our think tank to expand the departments.
So my question is just revolves a little bit around the parents. So, there's a sort of mystique around the AI. So when you ask the parents to opt out, or if they want to opt out, some parents might not even understand what it is. So do we have any way of communicating to the parents in our intent and what it means and what it looks like?
Mm-hmm. What I imagined that looking like is taking a lot of the language that we have in the policy on the draft of the website, because in there's some details about what is AI, how is AI used in the world, in the classroom. So to try and give a snippet that's digestible for someone who's maybe not familiar with it enough so they're informed with the decision they're making.
But I did make a suggestion too, like
Yeah.
in the beginning of the school year, when you have like back to school nights for the parents, maybe have a session that they, can pop in and out of Q&A and what is it and, because just some people are visual learners, some people are auditory,
And our pilot teachers will also be explaining in detail what that lesson plan is, what they plan on doing it with that unit so that the parents are, or our families are familiar with it, and we will always give an opportunity for them to call and ask more questions about it.
And then just another question on that, like what would that look like for an ELO family?
We have the ability to translate anything, based on our communication. So now we use the preferred language. So when we send it out through our website, we can translate it into their preferred language.
Thanks.
And I have one question. You mentioned specifically history to make sure that it addresses all students at their level, so the special needs students. So is that to say that with English, the special needs students are not participating?
As far as the pilot goes, at the middle school, I don't want to speak for the high school, the particular classroom that it's in is not does not have co-taught section right now, and it's not a learning support classroom. But students that may be in those classes for ELA will be in the history room where this is taking place. So we'll still have some pilot exposure to students that may have different needs that are still in the history class that it's taking place in.
And Mr. Rothstein does have ALT students, so not special ed, but English language learners.
So why Magic School? There's so many different softwares that we could jump on here. There's so many different programs. It seems like there's more and more that come up every day. But to narrow our focus to start, we really liked Magic School for a variety of reasons, not the least of which is that it's very clear it's a company full of educators. Even from speaking to their representatives, they seem to have a really good grasp on the things that we're excited about and also the challenges that we want to be mindful of. So that was among the reasons at the top of the list. right up there at the top with it was that it's FERPA compliant, COPA compliant. Their data safety was something that was really important to us and that we wanted to consider, and we felt strongly about their policies when we were thinking about putting it in the hands of our students intentionally. Dr. Grigaitis referred to this earlier too. We really liked that it casts the widest net. It's got something for science teachers, for special ed teachers, for ELL teachers, for advanced classes. There's for administrators. There's so many different tools in there that we thought it was a good place to start with teachers using it just on the teacher end, but also as we hand it over to kids. It's extremely user-friendly and controlled. I had for direct student use, but also for our use as building administrators and at the district level as well. One of the examples that they shared with me that I was really impressed with was, it gets a little bit granular, but there's a feature in there for lesson planning. And as administrators on the back end, we could put in there, make sure every lesson plan reflects UDL principles. Make sure every lesson plan has ideas for small group instruction. Make sure every lesson plan has ideas to meet the needs of English learners, without the teachers even seeing it. But if they're prompting that for feedback and ideas, it's included in what they get, whether they're looking for it or not. And the same can be done on the student end too. More on that when we get to Mrs. Carpenter's piece. Support with both teacher and administrator professional learning. Lots of time available to come out either in person or online and train us on what the features could be and what we need to be aware of. And also pre-created resources about AI use for students. So we've done a lot at the building level. Mrs. Carpenter was a huge part of that to create kind of the CMS or Colonial versions of how do I use AI as a student? What do I need to know before we start with it? And Magic School has their own version of that as well that we could either choose to use or use to get ideas on as we start to roll it out. And one of the other details that we're very excited about is that it's a free trial throughout the spring. So we're generous enough to let us into the paid version for free for now as we start to roll it out and get a better sense of it ourselves. So we're very excited about Magic School for all of those reasons.
So when we introduce AI to the students, the plan is to start just discussing what is it, how you are using it in your everyday life, theory or video games, all kinds of things where they may not even realize that they have exposed, but also help them deal with, start thinking about what are the ethical implications. So there's an excerpt here that's example scenarios where is learning happening that we would want to share with students. Before we tell them what our expectations are, we want them to think about what are your values, what do you see in this learning process, and discuss it before we just tell them you can't do this, you can't do that. We want them to have an understanding of why. So we have those scenarios. We also want to go through with them kind of the golden rules of AI use, which is on the back for you. And then get into the specifics of the CSD policy. This is how we developed it. We know that there's different types of learning taking place at different levels and different scenarios, and we want you to be exposed to all of that. We have plans to address those pitfalls, factual errors, bias, plagiarism, dishonesty, even the erosion of their skills, losing the ability to brainstorm and feeling like I always need to go to AI. False sense of expertise, we see it already as an issue with middle schoolers who maybe saw one thing online, one YouTube video, and feel very confident. And some of them don't even realize that they need to start thinking about their privacy. They have a sense from the social media aspect. I think the elementary school does a great job in their digital citizenship, but I don't think kids realize what information they're giving away about themselves through AI, and we want them to see that. But what we really want you to see, and we're hoping that your service works well enough in this building, if you're able to scan that QR code, this will take you to Magic School, what a student would see. Sorry, is that? So first you just type in a name.
Type in your name.
Sure.
And join room.
When you click join room,
All right, okay.
I do know many students will blow by this piece, but Magic School really prompts the kids Your teacher can see your activity. The answers aren't always reliable. Interacting takes practice. It's really going through and reinforcing the values that we have as a district as students are using it. So once they acknowledge that, the teachers determine what tools are available to students. The teachers send out a link. This is 4 out of probably 70 different possible tools that Magic School offers. They can be tailored. We could send different links to different kids, so they might have Tutor Me with AI, but this tutoring room is set up for students with a specific need, for students with a specific strength, the challenge that we're looking to give them. And so some of the things we're looking at using in this pilot, that research assistant for history. Mr. Clark's plan is to have the kids do some research on, they've got a big era to cover. They cover, Reconstruction to like 1910? It's a big thing, so they're gonna chunk it out. And so instead of Mr. Clark having to go, did you get what you need, did you get what you need? He can set this up with those parameters that work for his class, and it will guide students to reliable websites. It will guide them to potential research questions. So if you have a chance to click into any of these and try something out, do you mind just clicking on Research Assistant?
Sure.
So I was just working with a student. We were learning about, would you mind typing causes of the Civil War? So that's what 8th grade history is working on right now. And generate. It's thinking, but it's going to give them a snippet overview, possible research questions, a list of websites to get them started instead of having them Google at random.
So just a little bit more to add there. It's really exciting how fast it works and how it's the feedback that it gives still pushes students to do something with it. But something we talk about a lot when we're talking about differentiating for our students is how do we avoid making this student feel different because they're getting a different paper than this student and so on and so forth. When we push it out on the teacher and to students, they can all see the research assistant, but no one knows that I told it to make sure that its answers are on a 5th grade reading level for this student, or to make sure that the language is concise enough for an English learner for this student, or to make sure that we're pushing this student really hard. And that's the kind of thing that gets us very excited about it. And you can even get as granular as saying, make sure you always respond with an open-ended question so the student has to give something back, not just take it and continue to prompt it until the assignment is done. So these are all the things that we're very excited about with it and excited to learn more about it so we know how to keep training it basically to do exactly what we need it to do.
And the other thing we found, that one of the reasons teachers have liked it so much as we played around is it's kind of like bumper bowling for AI. It's going to guide teachers to, did you think about what standards you want included? Did you think about what grade level you want included? And it's going to prompt you through, as a teacher, all these things that when you're trying to weigh so many factors in your class, it's going to help you address all of them. Mr. Rothstein's very excited to go back and use the tutoring, the writing room. Sorry, I can't remember the name of it. If you wouldn't mind clicking back.
Sure.
It's back here. And the writing feedback. So what's awesome about the writing feedback is this is one of the most valuable things to help students improve their writing, to get feedback in a timely fashion. It is one of the most difficult things to manage as a teacher, to give meaningful feedback on the spot. And so if this can help us lift that load without telling students the answer, without writing it for them, by going through this structure, it's going to give them suggestions, areas to look based on the rubric, areas to look, again, based on whatever the teacher said, I know this is a need for this particular student, this particular population of students, and it's going to coach them into improving their writing. So we're really excited about both of those features.
Think about pre-AI, for the past decade, the emphasis has been text-dependent analysis, right?
Yeah.
And like that's been everything. The state has stressed it, PSSA has stressed it, Keystones has stressed it. AI comes along, and all of a sudden, I don't need TDAs anymore, right? I can just get a quick answer.
Yeah.
This is good because it adds that back in, right? It forces people to think, forces kids to think critically before they just, copy and paste.
And I think it's satisfying too, because as a teacher, so many times you've put so much thought into the feedback that you hand a student, that you put on a Google Doc. They see the grade, it's good enough, and they move on. So this is making them work through the writing process. That's everything on my side.
Debbie, good to see you. We'll go one further.
One further?
Come back to, yeah. All right. In addition to the ongoing collaboration, research, planning, and pilot you've heard about here, it's very important from the team's perspective to consider other opportunities, including an extended learning opportunity that's recently come about. Members of the PWAI think tank were able to attend collaboration and reach out from Widener University for one of their AI days, and many colleges and universities are following suit as well. Attending a session presented by AI for Education, and their whole goal, just kind of like Sean mentioned in regards to a collaborative team from education and the business world, responsible adoption of AI in education. So that's their ultimate goal. Some of the sessions attended here with AI opportunity, generative AI in education, and some of that share out and collaboration. The team found the opportunity extremely valuable. A lot of representatives from our think tank, including Brian Adams, our library media specialist, our college career counselor, Ms. Lynch, and a few others who were also there as well. Some of the main themes stressed again, as you've heard tonight, generative AI is a powerful and rapidly evolving tool with immense potential and impact from the conference. It's very important to develop critical thinking skills, and as Brooke mentioned just a moment ago, judgment remains paramount in evaluating these tools. And finally, adapting an AI future requires a shifted mindset, emphasizing AI literacy, experimentation, and innovation, all supporting our CSD strategic implementation here. And without further ado, I'm going to pass it back to Dr. Grigaitis.
Thank you very much.
Absolutely.
Nancy, can you go back one slide, please?
Yeah.
This slide also brought back to us, it was actually taken on her phone, but she thought it was such a great slide in the presentation. They did a survey, and 62% of employers that were surveyed believe that their employees should have basic AI literacy skills. 70% of recent graduates believe that basic AI training should be part of education, but only 55% of colleges or learning programs, or 55 discourage the use of it. So it just speaks to why we are getting on this journey that we are on and taking it very slowly and carefully. So if we go to our AI next steps, again, we are hoping to pilot at both CMS, May and June, with those free licenses from Magic School, so we're very appreciative for them. And we are already talking about plans for August PD. Sean had mentioned, he's already establishing a great relationship with Magic School, and they kind of have some dates already on the back burner for us in case that is a way that we're going to go. And we're looking forward to that August PD. Any other questions about our journey and where we're going?
One random question, so as this starts to get rolled out, piloted, and we start to take shape here, is there a proposed scope and sequence that sort of aligns with where would, even for teachers, right? With a pathway for teachers and then a pathway for students, is that something that we have a draft of? Or?
That would come about in our curriculum cycle, so that's one of the things that we have discussed. We're not going to have a specific AI scope and sequence. We'll be teaching all of our teachers how to integrate it ethically and effectively for all of our students. Is that what you mean?
Yes, and at some point you then foresee that for students, like we want our second grade students to do second grade having this knowledge. We want our seventh graders.
Yep. I'm sure as it evolves, we will get into that as well. Again, the steering committee is going to stay intact. The think tank, I'm assuming, is going to get bigger and bigger as we go along and people get more and more excited. But yes, I imagine that would be something that we would have. But again, as we are rewriting our curriculum in the summertime, we would be thinking about those.
Can you say a few words about what other sort of major AI engines and platforms were under consideration, sort of how you weighed the benefits and advantages and trade-offs, or were they all generally the same? Was it about this having the majority of the largest variety of tools, et cetera? What were some of the
Two of the other tools that were mentioned, that the high school mentioned, Brisk was one of them. And Joe would probably be able to talk about that because that was a fan favorite among our English department. And then ChatGPT was another one, also from the high school. However, Magic School does use ChatGPT's platform within it. So we didn't want to, again, pay for those two versions when in essence they're the same one through Magic School. Joe, you want to talk about?
Brisk is also an iced tea.
Yeah. Karen is drinking iced tea. Yes, Brisk is an iced tea, and that's pretty much the extent of my comparison to it. And I
This is
told
also,
Joe-
it's also refreshing.
And I said,
The-
Joe, what is Brisk? And
Yeah.
tell me about it. Yeah.
Yeah, so Brisk is also an iced tea, Dr. C. Brisk in this case, so it's a Google Chrome extension, primarily, that's how teachers are using it. So there's a free educator version that a lot of folks are piloting right now that allows you to do a litany of things. One of them is a writing coach, so it does a lot of middle level revision types of exercises with students and prompts them for additional questions. So what that does is if a student is working on a draft of a paper, for example, this may be useful for prompting them for additional information or detail related to a rubric directly. So you can have both of those things working in sequence. It does a lot of the same things that Grammarly does, if you've used that before, so a lot of the editing pieces, a lot of the revision there. But the built-in tutoring tools are the things that seem to be the biggest feature for folks that are conducting writing workshops. The benefit of that one is it doesn't just exist necessarily in English. It can also be used in social studies, it can be used in science. It also does some open-ended math problems. Forgive me for not knowing the answer to those. But generally speaking, it does a lot of different things for different contents. But right now, the English department is the one that's really primarily interested in looking at it.
And is the thought that this would be the enterprise-wide version? Would that be the ultimate potential place where we land? And is that a significant cost, or how does that work? Or do you think that just a plug-in sort of free version would be?
Yeah, good question right now. So that's what the steering committee is still kind of seeing and assessing, because Magic School will have certain tools that they use. So what they're trying to do is make sure that they're not creating any redundancies between the two programs. So if they're finding that Brisk does a lot of the things that Magic School can do, or vice versa, that would be something that may be a disqualifier. Right now, Magic School is the one that suits the most need, kind of agnostic of content.
And when we surveyed other school districts in our area, Magic School is the one that most, for the reasons that Dr. Kaplan mentioned, its safety and its use. We're looking forward to it, and we will be back with more updates for you. And again, thank you to everybody that presented tonight and has been such a valuable part of our steering committee. We appreciate your help on all of this.
Thank you.
Thank you, thank you.
Because I know it has
We'll be able to keep using.
Exactly. So the next part, you guys can do it, you don't have to. You know.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Good night. Thanks, guys.
Where do you wanna go?
So again, annually, we provide the board with an update on where we are within our stages of our curriculum. So Nance, if you would just go one more slide, yes. Dr. Figueroa Douglas is going to start us off talking about our curriculum cycle.
Thank you, Dr. Goditis. At the heart of everything that we do is our unwavering commitment to equity, inclusion, belonging, and high-quality instruction. We take great pride fostering this sense of belonging, where students feel seen, where they're heard, they feel connected, and they're valued. And with that, we know that they're able to thrive academically, maintain emotional balance, and engage at a social level. Our curriculum cycle is built on 4 components. It's equity, inclusion, belonging, and instruction. Additionally, we align these components with our Learning Forward framework. Transformational process, conditions for success, rigorous content for each learner. In a moment, my colleagues will delve deeper into the curriculum cycle and the framework for Learning Forward. Finally, we integrate these concepts with the Common Ground framework through the Pennsylvania Department of Education, which serves as a guide to help us deliver the most effective instruction and achieve the best possible outcomes from all of our students. So now I will turn it over to Mrs. Willichek that will share the stages of the curriculum cycle.
So each of us will highlight what are specific contents that are in some of the more rigorous stages of the curriculum cycle. But before we go into that, I just want to remind you that we do have 4 stages for our curriculum cycle, and a stage is not necessarily a year or a specific period of time. Sometimes we might do that within a semester, sometimes it might be 2 years, it depends on what the specific task is at hand. So typically in stage 1, we're reviewing and doing our research as to what the changes might need to be or if there's new standards available. During stage 2, we're doing our curriculum development, so we might be identifying a new resource. We're actually doing the curriculum writing itself in the UBD framework. Stage 3 is the actual first implementation of that new curriculum, and then we're constantly ongoing, moving forward in stage 4, evaluating how that's going and making revisions as we see fit that we need to. And that stage 4 is usually the stage that we live in for the longest period of time, because it's usually about anywhere between 5 to 6 years that we might have that curriculum in place. For budgetary purposes oftentimes, so that we are then available when we get a new resource to make some major changes within our curriculum. So I can highlight for my specific areas, as you know, obviously with the STEEL standards, science is a big area for us right now where we've been doing a lot of changes. We are already aligned at the K-5 level for science with the STEEL standards, so that's great. We last year did physics and chemistry in stage 2, so we're in stage 3 implementing new resources and curriculum there. We will next year be looking at a brand new resource for CMS for 6 through 8, and we are in the process of determining what that resource is going to be. So we'll be sharing that with you at the next curriculum committee at the board for approval. And so that will be implementation for some curriculum writing over this summer and into stage 3 with that new resource for next year. We're very excited about that. And biology specifically, we will be doing stage 1, looking at more, because we don't know what the test is going to be yet. They haven't given us the details of the Keystone, and the first iteration of it will be next school year. So we have a lot of research to do. I know it's a little bit behind everyone else for some reason, and most of the publishers have not put out the new books that are fully aligned to STEEL, so we kind of put that one off. So next year we'll be doing our research to identify what resource we want to use and then implementing that the following school year. So that's where science stands. A year from that, we're actually looking at just focusing on 4 or 5, just to give you a heads up down the lane, because we want to find something a little bit more rigorous than what we're using, whether that be supplemental or looking at a new resource, but that has yet to be determined because we don't want to pummel our 4 or 5 teachers with too many resources at once, so we're trying to spread that out, but that's later on down the road. Also in stage 1 for next year, because there's new personal finance standards that are coming about and as part of graduation requirements for the state of Pennsylvania, in EDI at the high school, and specifically with the business ed teachers, they have received the new set of standards. They aren't necessarily going to be in place for graduation until the 27-28 school year. However, we're already taking a look at them and making sure the curriculum that we currently teach is aligned to it, which is great, but we do want to make sure that we have a good core resource to help support that. So we will be in the process of doing research next school year and implementing our writing the following summer. And also, Family and Consumer Science has a new set of standards, which they haven't gotten for quite some time. So that is at the middle school, and also Personal Finance hits the middle school in our FCS classes. So they're getting a combination of the two, so that's something that we'll be looking into for next school year as well. And so that's pretty much where my content area is.
So there are 2 areas that I wanted to highlight in stage 1. So this is, again, as Mrs. Wilczek had said, where the bulk of the work is going on. For the humanities, grades 6 through 8 history are currently under curriculum cycle in stage 1. There's a lot of good work to be done there. We've already done some UDL style work, or Universal Design for Learning work, with the 6th grade team. 7th and 8th grade in particular are taking a look at their ancient civilization and U.S. history courses to make sure they're not just resequenced, but thematically what they're teaching is consistent with what the National Council of Social Studies recommends as best practice. So that's currently what we're doing right now. We are looking at a couple of resources right now. A lot of those are Creative Commons, which means that they're open source materials related to social studies. But the team is really hitting the ground running. That's what we've been doing pretty consistently for department meetings throughout the year. At this point, I'll be meeting with individual grade level content area teams to make sure that that work continues and is standards aligned and skills aligned for what students need, with a particular emphasis on writing. So history, English teachers can't always bear the brunt of all the writing, so we want to make sure that DBQs or document-based questions, responses to those are also part and parcel of what their history experience is like as well. French at all levels is currently in stage 1 right now. We put that purposefully in stage 1 so we can make sure that there's clear vertical articulation, which means that every single one of those courses speaks to one another consistently. So right now, what we're doing is just evaluating the standards and making sure that any skills gaps are being addressed. Neither of those content areas necessarily have any specific shifts in state level curriculum, but those are considerations that we have to have and do our due diligence with. And then our stage 2, we have world history and American history respectively up at the high school. The team has been working incredibly hard on this stage 2 process since we approved that resequencing of courses a couple of years ago. So world history now is in the 9th grade and US history is at the 11th grade level. So making those adjustments has been kind of an ongoing endeavor. So I continue to work with teams at that level as well to continue that work.
All right, for math, music, and health and phys ed, stage 1, there's 2 subject areas in that at that stage. That's we're just on the start of it, and that's health and phys ed and music. The first thing that they're doing right now, and they're just going to be starting it soon during the upcoming PLTs, is looking at content alignment. We really want to make sure that we're vertically articulating the content so that it's flowing from one grade band to the next. And very important when it comes to our ensembles, and especially important with our health classes to make sure we're working on what's grade appropriate at those levels with music and health. Stage for K-8 math, those grade levels are in kind of stages, a hybrid 1-2, because we've implemented our new resource in some areas. We're researching other resources in other grade levels. But I would say we're looking at the 26-27 school year, we should have everybody on the same cycle there, implementing a new resource in K-8. And that's for math. And 9-12 math, they're still in stage 4 at the moment. So as soon as we have K-8 settled, we will start looking at anything that might be new in 9-12 math.
Any questions about the curriculum cycle, the stages? All right, we're moving right along to professional learning. As the board knows, we've been talking a lot about our professional learning and how we can continue to make that better and better for the entire Colonial School District. So we're going to share a little bit more about that and looking forward to what is going to be happening once the state approves our Future Ready Comprehensive Plan.
And with the approval of that comprehensive plan, comes to professional learning standards, looking forward. And if you go to there you go, the learning forward, it says looking forward in the slide before. Learning forward.
We're looking forward to learning forward.
Yes. So with learning forward, with the new comprehensive plan and the things that are going to be coming up in the next 3 years, we're going to apply learning forward standards. What these standards are there's a set of standards that are broken up into 3 frames. One is rigorous content. The second one is transformational processes, conditions for success. From the frames, you break it down into your standards, and they have standards related to each of those frames. From there, we have our constructs. The constructs are probably the most important to really analyze and dig into, and that's what makes the standards actionable. And then finally, the desired outcomes. What is it we want our output to look like, and how can we strive to look at that? Just to give you some example of some of the things that we use the standards for, is looking at how can we create a culture of collaborative inquiry. How is it we can work together as an administrative team to create professional learning that supports the needs of the teachers, at the same time is supporting our initiatives and comprehensive plan. And so one of our goals that we will use these standards for is to create a 3-year plan outlining what that professional learning is going to look like and how is it that we're going to meet those goals that we outlined in that plan that's going to get approved soon. So anything else to add? Did I miss anything?
No, the general concept is that, we owe it to teachers and to kids to make sure that we have research-based opportunities to base all of our professional learning off of, and that is differentiated for them. Getting tools in their hands is the most important thing. So this has been really instructive over the past, really a couple of years we've been working on this, and in the past year with our administrative teams at the building level. So it's really exciting to get involved at that level with them, and to really help differentiate those opportunities at the district and the building levels.
And one more shout out to the Learning Forward Professional Learning Association and our partnership with them. We are very excited to say that both Maria and Joe are on the advisory committee for Pennsylvania. And Melissa, why'd you look at me, Maria? And then Melissa was just named on the executive board for Pennsylvania. So it's always nice to have Colonial School District out there and doing things better.
Thank you. Great.
All right.
Any comments? Any public comment?
Really none of this time.
Great, thank you. Thanks, everyone.
So I'm gonna call this meeting to order, the CRSO meeting for April 7th, 2025. Is there any public comment on anything about the meeting? Okay, so that being said, I'm gonna turn it over to Mrs. Burke.
Good evening, everybody. We have a pretty busy agenda, so we're going to get started right away. There are 4 things on our agenda. First, we're going to listen to the expertise of our school counselor, college counselor Beth Lynch, and Counselor Jeff Blizzard from PW, who are going to talk to us about a proposed college counseling platform that they'd like to discuss with you. We're also going to hear from Dr. Figueroa Douglas on our EID updates. And I'm going to speak with you about reviewing a board policy 249, which is bullying and cyberbullying, for our annual review. We go over this every year, just make sure that there's nothing that needs to be added. And also a board policy revision on policy 823. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce you to Beth Lynch from the high school.
Thank you for having me tonight. I'm here because we are proposing to use a new career and counseling college counseling platform called SCORE. It's spelled a little funny, SCOIR, so it's SCORE is how you pronounce that. Just like Naviance has a little bit of a goofy name too, but we're hoping that if we're to transition to SCORE, which a lot of local schools have, there's a list here, Upper Merion, North Penn, Wissahickon, Conestoga, to name a few. We're hoping that if we move to SCORE, it's going to be a more user-friendly platform for students and families. It's also, based on what I've heard from my colleagues at the other schools using it, it's a more efficient tool for the counselors, so that equals more time in front of students or with students. We spend a lot of time in Naviance sending documents. For those, I know we have some parents of current or alumni here. It definitely has a lot of clunkiness to it. There's a lot of clicking happening when you're in Naviance, whether you're on the counselor side or the student side. And so we are hoping that SCORE is going to kind of solve some of the customer service issues we have, some of the document sending issues that we have with Naviance, as well as provide students with a much more, I would say, 21st century platform. It looks very much like social media that they use. It looks a little more like a LinkedIn mixed with Instagram almost, and everything's presented in a much more concise way for them. So I have some screenshots that I'll show you here as we go. So with SCORE, this is a local company. It's based in Westchester. So that customer service is much more local and personalized, even not as a current customer. We've already been in contact with the representative at SCORE multiple times via email. She did a demo with our department so that we could entertain the idea of transitioning to a new platform. It's definitely a more user-friendly interface. It still keeps the same features as far as college and career resources go. There's still career surveys. There's still college research tools, and even better ones that I'll go over. They utilize some AI, or the option to use AI in this particular platform as well. And I'll show you that in a second. There is the ability to store 339 artifacts like we do in Naviance already. So when our career and financial management classes or any students are trying to store artifacts, it's very easy to save documents, and for us as staff at the high school to access those documents. There's going to be great student tracking progress, data analysis like we already have with Naviance, but even more enhanced. And again, I mentioned the counselor and teacher side of things. we're always looking at the student and the family experience first, but I can tell you, having dealt with Naviance not only while I've been at PW in my 7 years at PW, but also since 2012, it's going to save us a lot of time to send documents through SCORE. And last but not least, fiscally responsible. So the cost per student with SCORE is less, and that goes for both the middle school level and the high school level. So this is a 6 through 12 platform. So it's not going to take away the opportunity for our middle school students to have the same access to career and college resources. And SCORE also does a 50% discount for students on free or reduced lunch. So we're paying less for each of those free and reduced lunch students, which Naviance does not offer. And Jess, you can just skip over this. I wanted to show you some of I wanted to show you what resources they have for our students to kind of get onboarded into this platform. There's a student overview video for students. There's a counselor overview video. There's a teacher overview video, and there's one for families as well. So SCORE has thought of everything as far as helping introduce this, the resources associated with SCORE to families and to teachers and counselors. We will also, as a district, provide training to our students and families, but this is a resource that they can always tap back into if they need to. So the first view I'm going to show you is SCORE. So this, if you have seen your students or a student's Naviance account, colleges I'm applying to, colleges I'm thinking about are the two kind of categories that our students see when they go into their Naviance account. But it's not on the same page. It's not in the same location. So SCORE offers an opportunity to follow schools like they would Instagram or LinkedIn or something like that. They can also have an applying, like this is the list I'm applying to, and then also the list of schools that they did apply to. So this actually helps us as counselors understand where the student is in their process as well, without having to inspect and investigate every single student account. We'll know where they're applied or where they're applying so that we can support them with the documents. So student view. Now, if we do one more click, it's going to be Naviance. This is what they see right now for colleges I'm applying to on Naviance. So it's its own entity. They can see if we submitted their materials, but it's really its own screen, and they have to go somewhere else to research. They have to go somewhere else to list schools that they're thinking about. They also still have, these are very popular, scattergrams. Scattergrams are a popular feature in Naviance that allows our students to see where PW students have applied, where they've gotten in, maybe where they were waitlisted, denied. SCORE has all those same capabilities, and it does allow us to import all of the previous years of Naviance data, so we're not losing any of that information in the transition. This was the AI optional feature. You can turn it on and off as a district or as a school. It gives you your predictive chances at a college. So this is is it a target? Is it a reach? Is it a likely school? And so usually I'm the predictive chances, and it's fine. I think there needs to be a human lens going hand in hand with AI. I'm sure you guys just heard a little bit about that. But I do think this is a great tool to help students set their expectations appropriately when they're applying to schools, and help them really know these aren't all that different percentage-wise, but there could be a 5% chance versus an 89 or an 87% chance, depending on the school. So my colleagues at some of the neighboring districts really like this new AI predictive chance feature.
Didn't balk at that. I guess it's our data, so we can import it.
Yep. Nope. It's an easy. We just have to make sure that we're importing it following SCORE's rules into the spreadsheets the right way. But as long as we have all the right categories and all the different data points, it'll get imported in. Mm-hmm.
Do they give a lot of, I'm sorry,
Yeah, you're fine.
a lot of support during that transition phase?
They do. Yeah. And they've actually followed up with me 3 times. When did we meet with them? November?
It was really, yeah.
November maybe, or early December. They followed up with me 3 times to see like where we are, just to like see if they can answer any questions. See, it's been unprompted by me. So yes, they're highly, highly supportive in this transition process. One other thing, it's a little detail, but it's something that I really appreciate. It has some of the functionality, I would say, of Naviance's Supermatched College Search. Students can put in academic focus, degree, size of the school, campus location, as well as other filters. They then can sort by most selective to least selective, college or university, or least to most. They can also go by size or just alphabetically. Usually that information comes up very randomly in Naviance. It'll be based on match, but the match isn't super reliable. Just because the school has a 3.8 GPA and the student has a 3.8 GPA, they call it a match, but it doesn't always mean a match in the big scheme of things because of the selectivity of the school. And then this is the counselor dashboard. This is what I get way too excited about. But you can see applications. You can see if a fee waiver needs to be approved. Early decision contracts need to be approved. If something needs attention, we don't have any of that in Naviance. We can see when students request transcripts, but it doesn't give it to us in this easy of a format where we're able to very quickly do like a batch update. So this is wonderful. The other thing that we can track very easily, and this is hard in Naviance, is tracking teacher recommendations. Teacher recommendations come through Naviance right now, so that we can kind of vet them before they go out. Some schools just let teachers submit. I guess we're control freaks in that way, but I like it that way because then we can kind of control which letters are sent if our students are limited. But this helps us follow up with teachers too. So again, I mentioned improved counselor efficiency equals more time with students, less hassle for the teacher recommendations. I think it's going to allow us to communicate more effectively with families as well. SCORE has a mobile app. Naviance, when I Googled, does Naviance have a mobile app today? It says, Naviance does not have an app, but it has the ability to be used on a mobile device. And it's like, that's not the same. That's not what I'm asking. So student engagement with the platform, I think, is going to be earlier in high school and more frequent because it's going to look like the other apps that they use. It's also going to allow messaging features. So if it is on their phone, I don't know how many of you have kids in sports. I have Team Snap and Game Changer popping off every day to let me know if something's gotten rescheduled. And I think SCORE is going to allow them to set those same kinds of settings where they can get an update or a ping if something was messaged to them. I, as a counselor, am able to add recommendations to their list as well. I can do that in Naviance, but it shows up in the colleges I'm thinking about as opposed to a message or more of a like intimate communication with the student. And then again, I think it's going to lead to better customer service, less troubleshooting, less tech tickets that we're entering that take weeks to answer. And then again, with Naviance, we schedule representative visits or admissions visits to the high school. SCORE still has a way to do that, and our reps use that. So with enough schools across the country using SCORE, they're familiar with how to do rep visits there. I've asked anyone I've talked to this spring who's visited us. They've said they never have had issues with, at least in recent years, with setting up any school visits, and they haven't had issues with receiving documents. Sure thing.
The high schools, the local high schools that are using, who made the shift from Naviance
Yep.
before, they were all using Naviance at the transition?
The public ones that I know of were using Naviance, yep.
And they didn't have any issues with the data?
Nope, no. So the most recent shift was Upper Marion, and I talk very frequently with that college counselor, and she's a one-man team too, so she was easily able to get all the data imported in there along with her tech folks. But yeah, most of those schools that were on the list, there might have been a couple of the private schools. There have been some other platforms that private schools like CAlpha and a couple others that schools can use that have come with more mixed reviews, and they're also better for smaller populations, like smaller number of students. So as far as timeline goes, we're planning on, along with the CMS counselors, getting trained or training ourselves in SCORE. And then after that, we're hoping to do the Clever integration and the import of data over from Naviance. And then somewhere in April or May would be the goal to train the juniors and their families, introduce it, communicate with everyone throughout the spring and summer, get our teachers trained in it in the fall or late summer during professional development, and then onboard the rest of the school in the fall. So the goal would be we keep Naviance through our contract, which is July. That gives us time to migrate the data over and get everyone on board. And then it would allow us to work with those juniors more intensely on here's how we use it. We won't introduce it to the sophomores and freshmen yet. But we think that's what a lot of the schools in our area have done. They've done it with their rising seniors first and made sure that they had a handle on it before they introduced it to the rest of the community.
So since the Naviance contract ends in July.
Yeah.
Once that ends, so would that mean that the freshmen and sophomore won't have any platform until we're ready to transition to them?
No, they would still have access to SCORE. They just wouldn't necessarily know how to use it yet. We wouldn't have had a formal training with them yet. Good question.
That'll be part of the sophomore parent meetings that we have.
Yeah, I mean, I would think we can do it before the sophomore parent meetings that we have because those aren't till March, April. Yeah. Question?
Yeah, sure. First of all, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And second of all, I often find your information in the parent newsletter or on my daughter's Canvas page. Is there any way you can put your information in school?
Yes.
Like a one-stop shop school?
Yes. I don't know that it will be as robust as Canvas, but it will definitely be able to house documents and information, slides, and things like that better than Naviance. I was talking with Miss Lester about it actually beforehand. We do a senior survey, and right now we do a Google form, and part of that is so that Dr. Picani's office can access it for state data and things like that. I believe SCORE has the ability to hyperlink or link with the Google suite a little bit better than Naviance does. Naviance, it's just you have to create something from scratch in Naviance for the students to take a survey. It's not something that's as adaptable.
It's a shame Naviance didn't keep up with times.
Well, it's really funny. They changed their counselor interface in the past month, but when you click on anything, it just reverts to whatever you were looking at before. They just tried to make it look flashy, and then they're like, and you're going back to 2012. So, yeah.
10 years ago, Naviance was the only game in town.
Correct.
And I remember when the SCORE came out,
Mhm.
working in Chester County at the time.
Yep.
And they offered it to every Chester County school through the IU for $1 a kid.
Yep, for free at the beginning.
They wanted you to have
Mhm.
some skin in the game.
Mhm.
And I'll give them credit because it was very rudimentary when they started, but they
Yes.
have hustled.
They have.
I can't even imagine the work they had to do to persuade the colleges, right?
Right.
Because Naviance relied on the fact that you could upload everything from the high school right to the college.
Mhm.
And that was, they kind of had to mark a corner.
Right.
And then they got clunky and didn't innovate. And
Yeah. And
I think the part that looks like LinkedIn and the other pieces are just, it's the trend now, right?
Yeah,
It's what
absolutely.
kids are used to.
The other thing I forgot to mention, kind of important detail, they made the announcement last week, they're going to be integrated with Common App. That's the platform that the majority of our students
Oh, yeah.
apply through. So a lot of the same functionality as far as like how students requested letters and things like, all of that's going to look very similar. So it's not going to change the processes so much, it's going to change how efficient those processes are. But yes, they just made that announcement, and I made sure right away to email our rep to be like, are there any negative implications to this? And she said, I don't see any. And she gave me some examples of how things might change a little bit, but they're no different than like teachers will have to do a Common App form. They previously didn't with SCORE. but they're used to doing that. So it might actually be the best time possible to shift to SCORE because it won't be that big of a shift for the teachers and counselors as far as documents go.
For Navient and SCORE, the next 3 to 5 years are critical because if you remember, I think it was in the fall, the Inquirer did a story about how the next 5 to 10 years is the smallest population of potential college students across the nation.
Right.
So for them to have accurate data, because all of that predictive data they have is based on larger classes going forward.
Correct.
So the next several years, starting with this year's seniors through 2033, 34, the colleges have been preparing for major competition for students, which will be really interesting to watch.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was wise of SCORE to make the shift to Common App because there's over 1,000 schools that participate. And most of our students are exclusively applying to Common App schools.
And we're already seeing the consolidation even in this area.
Oh, absolutely.
Nova and Cabrini
Yep.
It's happening all across.
I was joking with Mr. Price outside. I was like, oh yeah, Villanova's bought off the whole Eastern Seaboard pretty much at this point. But yeah, any other questions for us?
Thank you for that. Thank you.
Of course.
Real quick, if,
Yeah.
like the current juniors want to do.
Why could you be interested in the
Like, would they be able to get, like if they wanted to do anything over the summer?
Yes.
Will they have,
Yes.
you guys will push out?
Yeah. So we asked that question because we're like, are we going to be paying for two things at the same time? It basically seems like the contract starts on July 1st, and up until that point, they're getting us onboarded across the board with students all the way up through. So yes, they will have access to those resources because we need to be ready to go for August 1st. That's when applications open. Yeah. As long as they have scattergrams, life is good. I mean, as long as I have them, it's a great resource. It's good data to show students for sure. Any other questions?
I just have a question, kind of outside this, but the students that go to Monaco, I don't know how it has looked in the past. Do we have a platform, or did Navient or does SCORE keep track of like tech ed students and places where they can go, or
So
is it strictly academic?
it's not strictly four-year colleges and universities. So even now, our students have access to community college information, technical college information, and even like our student data as far as who's applied to those schools and institutions. We don't have anything that's integrated with CMTHS. Anything that is in our Naviance account is because students and or we as PW entered that information as far as student data. As far as access to different types of schools, that's all there. I don't know, did I answer the question? Did I answer your question? Do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, I think just in terms of being able to use it for technical and trade schools and things like that.
Yeah, students can basically select what kind of, actually in Naviance now, that students can select their pathway, so 2-year, 4-year technical, even military. So it has all of those pathways where they can kind of change it according to their needs, as they can here. And it still houses all of the information about those different options. Like there's even Space Force in the military list, which is a thing, but I don't think a lot of students know it's a thing. So.
And do you have the same kinds of conversations with tech students that you do with our full-time PW students?
I do, yeah. So our tech students, I go into every single junior social studies class. So all of our juniors who go to CMTHS are in those courses. So they're all getting the same Naviance kind of tutorial or college research tutorial. And we're talking about all the different options that they have. I was just in a career and financial management class today talking about funding post-secondary learning and made it a point to talk about this doesn't just apply to 4-year schools because FAFSA can apply to a technical school or a 2-year college or university or a barbering college or a beauty school, depending on what they have available. Yeah, you're welcome. Any other questions? Thank you so much for your time. Thank you for letting me chat your ear off about this.
Thank you.
For all you do for.
Thanks. He does too, but he didn't want to touch
I sit in
this
the background. I sit in the background and cheer her on. I chear her on.
Glad they did that, Catapult 37 years ago.
I know. I had the big books when you went
Oh, yeah.
through the big books. I still have some on my bookshelf, but they need to get retired. Thank you so much.
Thank you all. Appreciate it.
So I'm just going to give a brief overview on EIB as it relates to our students and how they are engaged district-wide. Go to the next slide. We have ongoing student EIB meetings. These are held throughout the school year, and students are able to share their perspective about being a student here at the Colonial School District. I'm proud to also share that we recently, as of last week, participated in our 5th cycle of PSSM, which is the Psychological Sense of School Membership, which really shows our student sense of belonging here at the Colonial School District. 2 initiatives with the MCIU, Dreaming Forward and Voices for Education. So we have 2 different groups of students engaged with both of those initiatives. Again, those are happening regularly, but I'm really excited to announce that with Voices for Education, our next meeting is the culminating meeting where our students have the opportunity to be at Harrisburg with the local politicians. So it's really exciting. And with both of those initiatives, our students have the opportunity to collaborate with other students throughout the county. And last but certainly not least, our Student Leadership Forum with the University of Pennsylvania. Our high school students already had their meeting in February. However, the middle school meeting was the same day as the Eagles parade. So they very wisely shifted that to May. So we have that coming up for our middle school students. And the next slide just shows some pictures that we have. And it gives you a brief overview. You know, at the top left, you see the BCA. I had the opportunity to meet with the BCA and share with them the experience of visiting 3 HBCUs in Atlanta and other opportunities for scholarships. So that was really exciting. And again, our high school students at the Student Leadership Forum, AAC night was at Conshohocken Elementary, and it was just really great to have our EIB student leaders be able to provide childcare for the families that attended that night. So our students were able to engage other students from our community, school district community, while parents were able to engage in a workshop to better support their children. And we have the Voices for Education there, Dreaming Forward. Those are the 2 initiatives with the MCIU. And last but certainly not least, the last EIB committee meeting that took place in March. It seems like far away, but that was less than 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And it was a really great turnout where families were able to get a snapshot of what's happening at each school as it relates to equity, inclusion, and belonging. Something else I want to add, and I didn't have a picture for, was I got invited to iftar at the Norristown Islamic Society, where some of our students were able to present information about Ramadan. And it was in the evening, and with that, we were able to break the fast. And it was just so amazing to see the dynamic performances from our students and also students from Norristown and the Upper Marion School District. So those 3 districts funnel into the Norristown Islamic Society. So that was a great experience. I just don't have a picture to add about that. And that's what I have for EIB updates.
I just want to add the March EIB meeting, the culminating meeting, was really powerful. I thought we had a great community representation. Melissa did a wonderful job leading it. Sadly, just a few days later, we had our situation with anti-Semitic graffiti and racial slur on a bathroom wall, which we're fairly confident it's one student. We're still investigating, and hopefully we'll be able to bring that to a resolution. I had a few calls and emails after we sent our communication to the community. And I don't want an isolated incident, and I'm not diminishing how awful and hateful it was. It's very, very serious, and we take it with the utmost concern. But there's so many positive things and proactive things that are going on. Our EIB meetings, every one of our schools is a no place for hate. The day after the graffiti was up there, Dr. Figueroa Douglas and Dr. Bacani met with the student leaders of the BCA and the JSU. And our kids are so amazing. They came up with all types of ideas on how, whether it's an assembly or gathering people together and coming up with ideas to reinforce the concepts that we do with unity walks and other high school events, that they would not let one event diminish the efforts of an entire school year. We have sent out a request to meet with our interfaith leaders throughout the Colonial School District and neighboring communities. And we will include our student leaders in that meeting, and that'll be after spring break, to talk about the power of words and how we can all be united and not tolerating this type of event that took place. Dr. Figueroa Douglas already mentioned the PSSM survey we just conducted, and we did hear from the ADL after our communication, and they were very appreciative of it. And Dr. Bacani, who I know just left, but he met with ADL representatives last Friday about continuing that momentum forward and making sure we provide students with an opportunity to share their concerns if they have them, but also share ideas on how we can continue to reinforce the concept of belonging. And so I think we're not perfect. It's a continual effort, but I think the positives far outweigh the negatives, and we take those negatives very seriously. But I think the effort is absolutely there, and I think Melissa should be commended along with Jason because they're facilitators, right? It's about having the students' voices heard and families' voices heard. So not only just during bonus block at the high school, but in the community, going to community events and things like that. And they're both very visible in our district. So we'll put together a little list of things, not a little, comprehensive list of things that we're doing proactively, just so the board has it in board notes, and it's information you can reference if you're asked by a community member.
Any questions for Dr. Figueroa Douglas? The next item is a review, our annual review of policy 249, which is bullying and cyberbullying. We put this policy into place in 2018 and made whatever revisions in between. Is there anybody that has any questions about that policy? It's been working very well. We do have our bullying reporting form, and parents have been making use of it. We also have our Safe to Say as well, and we have had reports in that platform also. So I am pleased. I do get copies of all of the bullying reporting forms once there's a resolution. So we do keep a copy of that, and that way we can see if there are students who, even across school settings, might be repeat offenders or maybe even repeat victims, so that we can intervene. We will just record that we reviewed this on this date. Okay.
Thanks.
Any questions? And the next policy is a first read, or actually a review. We had to change, we originally had this policy under, I believe it was 828. And PSBA has this number as 823 for this particular topic. We put that policy into place originally in 2017 when there were concerns with the opioid crisis, there may be students who would need some medical intervention in school to save their lives, much the same as we would use an EpiPen for a student who has an extreme allergy. It was not written in PSBA format because I think we beat them to the punch. We put it in before there was a PSBA format for it. There is one now, and we would like to adopt that format and the number that they have placed for this particular topic, which is for naloxone, which is the generic name for Narcan. So for any student who may have, and I'm going to hope, inadvertently taken something that they should not have ingested, we have a supply on hand. And we have since 2017. We have, thank God, never had to use it, but we do have it on hand. Right now, we only have it in our middle and high schools, but I'm wondering, and perhaps you could weigh in on this, whether or not we should have something on hand in each of our buildings on the off chance that heaven forbid, a child gets into some things that look colorful that they shouldn't otherwise have. And that way we have something on hand just in case.
Do we know that it's safe for younger children?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, it's safe, there's nothing that can happen. Even if they had not ingested something, it would not cause any harm.
And are there school nurses trained in it?
Yes. And I think they have to do annual online training for that as well. It's in the form of a nose spray. It's a nasal spray. It is something that I think would benefit. I think it was you who raised the point. God forbid, let's say a family member comes in and, has ingested something that they should not have, or an amount that they should not have. And has a reaction, we would be able to offer assistance as well. Any questions about that? Then I guess we would move this forward. Would it be for, I guess, a first read?
First read, Thursday, and then second read in May.
Right.
And then do we need to delete the other policy that we had first?
We could do it concurrently.
Okay.
Oh.
The one that
Delete,
was
delete
replaced.
it, I said delete.
The 249?
Yeah.
The bullying?
No,
Yeah,
delete the
It's
this
the second one is
replacing
replacing
the one
something.
we're.
Oh, yes, it would. Somebody's
We would
already,
do that.
they've
That
already
already
replaced
happened.
it. It's already been replaced,
Okay.
actually. So I think we would make note
Yeah,
that
that was in a remarks.
that it's, in
Oh,
fact,
yeah.
I think Mrs. Turner did put that on here, that it's a board policy revision. It will be reviewed with the intent to have first reading on April 10th, second reading and adoption at the May 2025 board meeting. This policy has a new number and has been reworded to include PSBA recommended language, definitions, and guidelines. This policy is categorized as legal liability.
The changes are substantive, so we should do 2 reads.
Yeah.
Okay.
Any other questions? And I'm going to turn this back over to you.
Okay. Any public comment? Any board comment, questions, anything? All right, that being said, meeting is adjourned. So thank you.